3. So welcome everybody to a truly international audience with dozens of people from all around the world. I'm your host, Dawn Campbell, Director at the IAPC&M, and we're kick-starting 2019 with a very special guest speaker, Peter Thomson, arguably the UK's most prolific information content creator. So there's nobody better placed to help us digitalise and by definition monetise our products and services, which I know is a subject we're all particularly interested in as we try always to think about how do we reach a wider audience. So we've got a 90-minute call scheduled. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Peter. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us again. We're looking forward to hearing more from you.
Dawn, that's great. Thank you very much indeed. And good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be listening to this, or good evening, even perhaps if you're watching the recording. I'm delighted to be with you. I have this opportunity to share some tried and tested and proven ideas for how we can take our knowledge, our experience and our expertise and what I call the magic ingredient and share it with more people than we ever dreamed possible before. So that's going to be great fun to do. But there's one thing I need to say right at the start. Despite the fact that I've now been in business for 40 plus years, there's one thing I know for certain, it's this: I don't have all the answers. I think the day that we stop learning is the day that we stop earning, and therefore I know I am a lifelong learner. I attend webinars, I read books, I read every day of my life, and I listen to audio programs, watch videos, because I think up and learning more stuff. I love that expression which I heard years ago, which was, the world will belong to the learners, whereas the learned will find themselves perfectly prepared for a world that no longer exists. And doesn't it say that beautifully? Those who are learned and have not kept up are going to find themselves left behind. So what I'm going to share with you today is some tried and tested and proven ideas in a variety of things. I've made a variety of notes. I've printed out some slides so I don't have to share my screen with you. I've actually printed them out, so I'm going to be holding them up just as if we were sat in the same room together. And I'm going to go through all sorts of stuff. And by the way, if you have any questions whatsoever, by all means put them in the chat box. I'm going to try and keep my eye on it, but Dawn's going to keep her eye on it as well. And if there's any chat comes up there or anything you want to ask me, just ask at any time at all. If I speak a bit quickly or I haven't made something clear, then by all means stop me and ask me again. I'm delighted to do it. So I think to start with, what I'd like to do is to share with you some of the ideas I've picked up over all these years of being in business, both normal business and over the last 30 years, helping coaches, consultants, speakers and trainers to be more successful by not only sharing their knowledge, experience and expertise, but also by being able to increase their fee rate appropriately to the value that they deliver. My view of money is this: money is the silent applause for a job well done. And if we think of it in that way, rather than the goal that we're aiming at, then I think we get our heads in the right place. When we're aiming only at money, when our focus is money, when our goal is money, doesn't mean we don't have a target for money, by the way, but when our goal is only money, it's very easy to get distracted by the latest shining object. But if our goal is to make a major difference in the world, is to help our clients either solve a problem of some description or capitalize on an opportunity in their lives, and we focus our efforts, then the best we can be to do that, knowing that money is the silent applause for a job well done and value delivered to others. And I think that gives us a great mindset in order to approach the art of making money. And it is an art and it is a science. And I have no problem at all sharing with you ideas of how to make money on the basis that we're doing it based on value delivered. So here's some of the ideas that I think can really help you. I believe it's a great idea that we become an author. And today I'm going to share with you the very simple process where you can take what you know and you can convert it into a book. In fact, here is my latest book. And here it's called How to Write Your Business Book in 5 Days or Less. I'll put that a little closer to the camera. How to Write Your Business Book in 5 days or less. I'll tell you about the number of pages, which is the ideal length for maximum readership. Because I don't know about you, I'm sure you think the same way I do on this. I'm looking to be a best reader, not a bestseller. Yes, I like to make money out of my books, but I don't want people buying my books and using them as doorstops. Or using them and sticking them on a shelf somewhere and then only moving them when they move office. That's called shelf development, not self-development. That's no good to us at all. So I want people to actually read my books. I want them to take the ideas away and use them. And to give you a proof of how easy it is once you know the system to write a book, I wrote this book in 80 minutes. Yeah, it is. So, regardless whether or not we're writing a book, regardless how we're going to be marketing ourselves out there in the marketplace to find the appropriate clients that we can deal with, I believe we must start by answering 4 simple questions. And the questions are these. Question number 1, they'll sound simple, but they're a lot more profound once we get into them. Question number 1 is this: who are you? And by that, I mean, to your marketplace, who are you? Are you somebody who's had some results in life that you're prepared to share with people and say, look, these are the results I've had. These are the mistakes that I made. These are the failures I've had. These are the successes I've had. Let me share with you what I did so you can take the golden nuggets from it and get the results that you want or solve the problems you're trying to solve. Now, you could be somebody who's had results. You could be a very good researcher, and you've been out there on the net and books and meeting, doing all sorts of things, and you've found and you've researched the ways for people to become more successful. Or you could be a reporter in the sense that you've interviewed lots of people. To give you an idea, I've interviewed 172 different successful people, from people like Brian Tracy and Jay Abraham and Professor Robert Cialdini and who else? Oh, yes, Professor Richard Bandler, the co-originator of NLP. I've interviewed him. And the great and the good, all sorts of people. Rebecca Stevens, who's climbed the highest mountain on each of the continents of the world, very successful woman, and so much to learn from all of these people. So you might have done similar things, and you've researched and then you've reported on the interviews that you've had. So you can either be a results person, or you can be a researcher, or you can be a reporter. Napoleon Hill was a reporter. His famous book, Think and Grow Rich, is really the information that he gathered from successful businessmen in America that he was introduced to by Andrew Carnegie. And then he took his own spin on that, and he created the book Think and Grow Rich, which is one of the greatest bestsellers of all times, and probably a best reader as well, because a lot of people I know who've bought that book have certainly read it and applied many of the ideas. I know that I have as well. So which are you? Are you a reporter, a researcher, or somebody else? Results? Or is it a combination of those? So be absolutely clear. And I'll tell you why you need clarity on that. I've got a slide here that says it, and I'll just find it because I've scattered these on my desk into various ideas. Here we go. This is a super expression. This came from a book called Switch, How to Change When Change is Hard by Chip and Dan Heath. It's my favorite expression of the last 10 years. I wish I'd written it. Here we go. It is: resistance is created through a lack of clarity. And this, I think, can be our lodestone. This can be our guide. This can be our compass in everything that we do, whether it's setting our own goals, whether it's doing our marketing, whether it's what we deal with clients, whether it's our website, whatever it might be. Resistance, either from ourselves or from other people, is created through a lack of clarity. And when there is clarity, the resistance diminishes or disappears altogether. So we want to make absolutely certain that we have clarity in everything that we do. So when you have clarity about who you are, boy, does it make life easy from there, and I'll explain how we're going to use it. The second question is, who are they? In other words, can we get clarity about the audience that we deal with? Remember, we're dealing with them usually one-on-one, but who is that audience that we're dealing with? And I've got a diagram here. Let me show you this. This is called the avatar diagram. As you see, I'm into mind mapping. Yeah. And what this does, it not only gives me the demographics of the people I'm talking to, in the sense of my audience, who are they and where are they, but it gives me what's often called these days, I know it's a bit psychobabble, but it's actually called psychographics, or in other words, why people buy. Now, if we have absolute clarity for ourselves on who we're dealing with, so in other words, we know who we are, and we know who they are, and we know where they are and why they buy, our marketing, sales, and our businesses start to take off. So what I will do for you is I will send a copy of this diagram. This is my personal diagram for the market that I deal with. I'll send a copy of this to Dawn, and then she can let you have a copy of it as well, to give you just some information on it to start with, to get your mind thinking about perhaps creating it. You can do it as a list linearly if you prefer it that way, or the way that I often work is as a mind map. I like mind mapping a lot. So here I'm answering who I'm dealing with. So, for example, the sort of people that I've been dealing with for the last 30 years, helping them give them? That's a nice idea to think about. Then the next section there is fears. What are their fears? So, for example, I know that one of the key fears for people, not often spoken about, is this: insignificance. Think hard on that, because once we have this understanding of what I call the second level of understanding on things, so for example, a second level benefit, a second level fear, although it's not often spoken about, it's really what a lot of the other fears come back to, is the fact of people's feeling that they will be insignificant or that they're looking for significance. Then what keeps them awake at night? What's their frustrations? What's their needs and what's their wants? And obviously there's a big difference between needs and wants. Ted Nicholas, probably the most successful self-published author in the world, multi-millionaire and a really lovely man, said to me face to face when I interviewed him, Peter, whatever you do, do not try and build a business on satisfying needs. You will go bust. He said, satisfy wants. What is it that people want to buy? And not even what people need to buy. You see, people will buy wants from almost anybody to start with. They only buy needs from people they know, like, and trust. In the same way, when we need help from a medical professional, so setting up the business so that we're responding to what the market wants, and then when they know us, like us, and trust us, they can buy what they need from us as well. So first two questions: who am I? Researcher, reporter, somebody who's had results, or a combination of? Who are they? Where are they? Why do they buy things? Third question, a little bit strange, this one: who am I to them? Because there's a difference from who I am and who they are, but now I want to start to understand the relationship. So third question, who am I to them? This is who I am to my marketplace, to the people who are on my avatar diagram. This is who I am. This will sound a bit weird, but it's true. I am Uncle Peter. Now that's who I am naturally. This is somebody who's your favorite uncle, who pushes you to be the best you can be, who wants the best out of life for you, who will take no excuses, doesn't mind the odd reason, but will absolutely be totally and utterly honest with you, will tell you everything they're able to tell you, will always be honest, will always tell you the truth, however hard it might be. Will not paint any rosy pictures of the future, will paint a picture of the future clothed in reality, so you know exactly what is possible. Now, that's my natural self. That's me being, I know it's an overused word, so forgive me using it, that's me being my authentic me. It is so overused, and yet it's such an important factor to take into consideration. So who are you? Are you their trusted advisor? Are you their best friend? Are you somebody who stands on the sidelines and cheers? Are you somebody who jumps in the ring with them for the fight? Are you somebody who walks across the tightrope with them on your shoulders? Which are you? Because when you have this clarity, you then have no resistance. So when you come to communicate with your audience, whether that's through your various products or services or what it is that you supply, through your coaching, mentoring, whatever that might be, or through your marketing, then when you have this clarity, life gets easy. You're able to be totally and utterly yourself on the basis that you're not really trying to attract the whole world. In fact, most of your marketing, I believe, is designed to push away the people you don't want, not just necessarily attract the people you do want, because that's when we're standing tall and saying, this is the position that I'm taking in the marketplace. This is why I'm confident that what I do will help you. It has that efficacy. It does what it promises on the tin. And the problem that so many people run into is in the three key areas of being successful, which are these: confidence, belief, and alignment. So we have to be confident that our product and service delivers on the promise. We have to have belief in ourselves, total and utter belief, not only in ourselves, our ability to deliver, as well as the confidence that the product or service delivers. But then the most important bit, the platform on which all of our success is based, is alignment. Or in other words, are our actions in alignment with who we are? And that choice of verb is very important, because when we use the verb to be, in other words, who we are, we're talking about ourselves at the identity level, at the top of the pyramid. I don't know if you've ever looked at the Dilts pyramid. I wrote something very similar over 20 years ago. And if we're looking at that Dilts pyramid and we're starting to understand who we are, if we make certain that what we're doing is in alignment with who we are, we will do because it's totally and utterly who you are. So question 1, who are you? Question 2, who are they? Question 3, who are you to them? Get clarity. And question 4, who are they to you? And I learned this from Rick Sheffrin. And you probably notice I'm always very comfortable explaining where I find out these ideas because I learn a lot. I apply them, I test them, I hone them, I change them, I polish them, I make them my own, but I always let you know where they've come from. I remember listening to a 2.5-hour webinar, and I listened to it twice, by Rick Sheffrin, and he was explaining it, and I'll give you my take on this, that basically along the timeline of relationship, there's going to be those people in the marketplace who have no idea who we are. They're really the cold end of the marketplace. On the other end, all the way down the line, down this end, are the people who know us, like us, trust us, have bought from us before. Now, as you and I realize, dealing with these people will be very different from the way we'll deal with these people. With these people who want to go to the market and say, I've got a free report. I've got a nice guide on how to do something. In other words, we're trying to engage them with a story. And stories have been used for thousands of years to engage people, as we both know. So maybe we're going out there, and today I'll show you how to write a really engaging free report. I have a little process. I have a process and a template for most of the things that I do. So we obviously want to go out there and say, oh, hi there. If you're interested in this subject, I've got a free report on it, or I've got a guide on it, or I've got a checklist on it that you can use, and you can have it for free in exchange for your details and permission to contact you at a later stage to introduce you to the other things that I have. That guide, that report, that checklist needs to be absolutely fantastic in the way of content. As Gordon Herschel Lewis said in his fabulous book, Sales Letters That Sizzle, fire your big guns first. If you've got something good to tell people, don't wait till the third meeting. Tell them right up front. So if you tell them the stuff that's no good, they'll think you're no good. If you tell them the stuff that's great, they'll know that you're great too, and that you've got even more great stuff to share with them. So we communicate in that way with a cold audience. Maybe with somebody who maybe just about heard of us. Maybe we're going to that marketplace and saying, I know something that's contrary. I know something most people don't know. It's a bit of a secret. This is a reason that people fail. When you're dealing with this market over here, the colder market, the away motivated language works better. You will get higher conversions. I've tested it and tested it and tested it. I've had other people test it, my clients as well. Use over here reports that talk about the 7 mistakes that people make, not the 7 secrets that people want to know. The mistakes over here, this market, the people who know you, we talk more about the features and benefits and advantages. Now, these people over here who know you, like you, trust you, bought before, you can go to them and say, I've got a new one, would you like to buy it? You couldn't do that to this market. Your conversion rate would be 0. Well, nigh on 0. So you see the difference from these people who don't know you to these people who do know you across this timeline here. What a difference in the way we communicate. So 4 simple yet powerful questions. Who am I? Who are they? Who am I to them? Who are they to me? And once we have that absolutely right, then this doesn't come into play. There is no resistance, there is clarity. So when we come to create informational products, whether it's a book, whether it's a subscription program, an online mentoring program, an online video course, all of various different things. And again, today, if we have time, I'll show you some of those as well. Then we can be doing that. What I love about this is it gives me the opportunity to run my business aligned with the way that David Ogilvy, who helped build the Ogilvy Mather organization from a very small business into a massive worldwide marketing agency. David Ogilvy said this, and I typed it out for us. There you go. Only first-class business, and that in a first-class way. Now, I think that is just fantastic. What do we want? Do we want first-class business, or we want second-class business, first-class business. And why wouldn't we deal with people in a first-class way? You see, my view of selling and businesses and life is this, that yes, we have to learn how to sell, because if we're going to be successful in business, we need to understand the marketing and the sales process, and they're different, aren't they? The marketing basically brings people to us predisposed to buy, and the sales process is the more one-to-one communication where we find out what somebody wants, and if what we have will help them get what they want, then we can align the two and ask them to move ahead. But in that selling process, I believe what we should be doing is we should learn to sell so we understand the process, and then we should stop selling and we should allow people to buy from us. And that's a totally different positioning in the marketplace. See, I don't like going around to convince the people. I don't want to convince anybody. I want to be convincing. And that's very, very different, isn't it? It's a very different take. It's a very different stance, a very different posture in the marketplace, is to say, yes, I have total belief that what I have to offer works for those who will work it, right? I have total and utter belief on that. After all, selling is a transfer of belief. That's how the sales process works. And so if I can be talking to people in a convincing manner, rather than trying to convince them, what's the old expression? A person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So I don't want to be convincing anybody. I want to be convincing. I don't want to sell anybody. I want to allow people to buy. And you see the difference from that when you're a coach or a mentor. I'm not a coach. I'm more of a mentor than a coach. So I'm a bit too prescriptive to be a coach, as you probably gather from my style. But, you know, each to their own. And I'm able to help my clients in the way that I do that. But to think of it in that way, only first-class business, and that in a first-class manner. I once interviewed a fascinating man called Roy H. Williams. He's known as the Wizard of Ads. Out of the 172 interviews I've done, that's the best one. Not only was I well prepared, but he was a genius as well, and so open and prepared to answer. And he taught me a nice distinction, a really good distinction that changed the way that I did business, and I'll share it with you now. And again, you see that I'm happy to credit where I learned these things and how I've applied them. And Roy was explaining to me the difference between clients and customers. And he said this. He said, let's look at relational and transactional. He said, Peter, no, actually he didn't, because the American said Peter. So that's nice the way that he said it, Peter. With a transactional customer, they are their own expert and they buy on price. This is the sort of, we'll say a man this time. This is a man who's looking for a car, does all the research, knows all the specs, all the designs, all the details about this car, and goes round to 3 different car dealers and beats them all up on price and finally buys it at the cheapest possible price that he can. The only way you'd upset this person once they'd bought it is to tell them they could buy it £100 cheaper down the road. And they'd be really angry, because for them, it's purely a transaction, nothing to do with relationships. Now, with the relational clients, they look to the supplier, you or me, to be the expert. Different, isn't it? Very, very different. And price is a factor, not the factor. It is a factor, but it's a factor. It's not the factor, not like a transaction, because this is a relationship. To give you an idea, I'm a relational buyer when it comes to cars. I've been dealing with the same salesman for probably, 15 years. And I say to him, this isn't my car, it's our car. We're both going to look after it, because it's a relationship. That's what we're looking for. So who are you looking for out there in the marketplace? Are you looking for transactional customers, or are you looking for relational clients? And if you're a relational client looker, as I am, then we have to position ourselves as the expert. Now, what's the one thing that experts have? They have written a book. Absolutely, number one, they will have written a book. That's what experts do, especially in our marketplace of coaches, consultants, speakers, and trainers. Successful coaches, consultants, speakers, and trainers, all without exception, have a book. Successful footballers have a book, but they don't write it. Actually, they don't write it themselves, but somebody writes it for them at the end of their career. Politicians write their book when they've come out of politics, so they can then write their book when they've finished in office. So they often go back into office. Successful business people write their book as they're on the rise. The more well-known they are, the more books that they create. But for us, as coaches, consultants, speakers, and trainers, we have to write it in order to become even more successful. That's the way that that works. So I would urge you to think about this really carefully about who it is that you want to attract. Because once you know who you are, who they are, who you are to them, who they are to you, and the fact that you're looking for clients, relationships, not transactions and customers, it changes everything about your marketing. You position yourself as the expert. You walk, you talk. Your website looks like an expert website. Your webinars are expert content. This is the way it works, and it's a choice. And of course, the great thing is, if it is authentically you, there's that word again, it's so much easier to do, isn't it? So much easier to do. So I would urge you to think about that. So what will make the difference? What will position you as the expert? Well, firstly, will be your book. Secondly, will be your fee rate. You can't be considered as the expert and be charging rock bottom prices. It doesn't go together. If we're going to be Harley Street doctor, we've got to charge Harley Street doctor prices. We're not charging back street prices. So your fee rate will represent that. Your website will represent that. And Robert Cialdini, who produced a phenomenal book years ago, Influence, Science and Practice, and I've met him and interviewed him, and what a lovely guy he is. And he talks about his original 6 ideas about persuasion. Then there was 2 more, and then his latest book, which is called Persuasion rather than Persuasion, which is all about what you do before you do what you mean to do, and what you say before you say what you mean to say, talks about the 9th factor of persuasion. But one of those key factors is what he calls authority. And in authority, i.e. being the expert, there are 3 key factors, and here they are. They're title, trappings, and clothing. Title, trappings, and clothing. So let's look at the first one first, title. What is the strapline that you have below your name? If it's on your book, here's my book, Peter Thomson at the bottom. What does it say underneath? The UK's most prolific information product creator. Well, who says so? Well, I do, because it's true. Absolutely true. I've made more informational products than most people on the planet, let alone in the UK. 100 audio programs, 100 video programs, 7 books, 17 books. This week I filmed my video blog. I call it an e-zine, but it's now on video. It's been the last 2.5 years, number 826. I've been doing it for nearly 16 years. So that's why I'm able to say that. But what does your strapline say about you? How does it position you? Because your title and your strapline is one of the factors of authority. If somebody's called captain on a plane, they're the authority figure. And that while we're on captain of the plane, the trappings, what are the trappings that go with that? Well, there's the flight manual or details that they carry. What about somebody who walks in the middle of the road wearing a high-vis jacket and holds up a sign that says stop? That's their trappings. That gives them the authority. Almost, well, I think every car in the world would just stop straight away if somebody walked in the road with a stop sign. Police officers, look at the clothing. Imagine this. We're driving home together one night, V&D, and we've been out for a meal. And we're driving down the back lanes to find our way home. It's raining, it's November, it's a bit dark. And suddenly we see a flashing blue light. That's my son's dog in the background. He's a little dachshund, a miniature type dachshund about that. His name's Richmond because he's a sausage dog, which will only make sense to anybody who's based in the UK, I think, because of Richmond sausages. But anyway, and we're looking after him for a couple of days. So imagine we're on this journey through the lanes, and in the distance we see this flashing blue light, and we realise it's going to be a police car. And as we get closer, we see a police officer stood in the road in uniform going, stop. What would we do? We'd stop. Of course we would. And we might be cautious, but we definitely stop. Now let's take the next night. It's still raining, it's still November, it's still dark, and we're on our way home from another meal. And we've had a great night, and we come around a bend, and there is this same police officer in the road in his or her own car, just in a T-shirt with a raincoat over it, but we can see it, wet, putting up the hand going, stop. Would we stop? I don't think so. I think we'd be extremely cautious. What was different? Title in our mind, trappings, flashing light, and clothing. That's what positions authority figures. So what's your title? What's the title on your products? What's the title of your website? What does it talk about you? What's your personal title? When I used to do a lot of consultancy with corporate type clients, my title was then Peter Thomson, the UK's leading strategist on business and personal growth. Who says so? I do. I was. you've got to have that belief in ourselves. And a friend of mine who's a referee, a football referee, says this great expression. He said, most people reach the limit of their belief well before they reach the limit of their talent. I wish I had written that one. Isn't that fantastic? Most people reach the limit of their belief well before they reach the limit of their talent. What a shame. What a shame. Because we've got to have that high belief in that what we have to offer is good for people. We'll give them the results that they want. So we're clear now with the questions. We're clear with the authority, with the title, trappings and clothings, and this starts to position us in the marketplace. Now, let's move on from there because I've got another bits and pieces here. Why don't we talk about how to write a book now? Then whilst it's in our mind, we can actually get that done. Some research, I'm just going to have a swig of my tea. Excuse me a second. Some research from a man in the States called Dan Sullivan, another genius of a guy, runs a business called Strategic Coach, very successful, deals only with successful entrepreneurs. That's who he deals with. And I was listening to one of his podcasts that he does with Joe Polish, also a very successful marketer who started as a carpet cleaning company and then learned about marketing and moved on from there. Very lovely guy. And they were talking about the research that's been taking place on the length of books and readership. And this is what they said. They said that if your book is between 60 to 80 pages, then 100%. So 60 to 80 pages, readership 80 to 100%. As soon as your book gets to about 100 pages, the readership falls dramatically to about 3%. 3%. When your book gets to 200 pages, with this caveat, unless it's a specialized book to a specialized market or the author is incredibly well known, your readership drops to about 1%. Now, this begs the question that I mentioned earlier. Do we want to be a bestseller and sell loads of books and make loads of money doing it? Or do we want to use our book as a business card, as the best business card we ever had, as a positioning statement, as the information on the back talks about us and positions us and gives us credibility in our marketplace? And do we want people to actually read it and take action with the ideas and get the promise of the book? This is the promise of my book, How to Write a Business Book in 5 Days or Less. Can you do it? Yes, I'm going to show you now exactly how you do it. So that's the difference here. If you want people to read your book, I would urge you, if you've got a 200-page book in your head, do 3 books. 3 books of about 70 pages each. Why? You'll get paid 3 times as much because the book sells for the same price. People are a lot more likely to read it and more likely to take action with it. We're all happy. So this is you start off by deciding on the content area of the book. So this is a simple process I'm going to take you through. It's really easy, really, really easy. So you decide on the content area. Let's say I was going to write a book on communication skills. In fact, I have written one on communication skills. The audio version is called Conversation, the Power of Persuasion. The book's called The Secrets of Communication. The conversation is a better title. Conversation, the Power of Persuasion. So I'm going to write a book on communication skills. What would you write a book on? What would be the subject you're passionate and knowledgeable about? So that's the umbrella. That's the overall area. Now let's just have a working title for it. What would be the working title? We can change the title later, but the title wants to talk about 3 key things. It probably wants to talk about the people it's talking to, the problem that they've got, and the possible solution. That's a nice way to start to get some ideas out of your mind into the title of your book. The book title doesn't want to be so vague that people don't know what it's all about. You know, Conversation, the Power of Persuasion. That's a pretty good title. I have another book called The Pinnacle Principle. That's rubbish. The book's great, but the title's rubbish. I didn't come up with the title. It was years ago. The publisher, Simon & Schuster, one of the biggest publishers in the world, by Viacom, they decided that was the best title, and I perhaps wasn't strong enough then, a long time ago, to say no. I would retitle it these days. I don't know what the title would be. It might be How to Grab Your Life by the Throat and Really Make It Happen. That might be a bit better, but at least it would grab people's interest. So we've got the title. Now what we do is we answer this question in writing. Here's the question. What could possibly be the chapters? Ever so simple. What could possibly be, really important, what could possibly be the chapters? And we put a question mark behind it if we're writing it, because the question mark is the enter key on your neck-top computer. Right? It's how you get your head to give you answers. You put a question mark, and your mind knows, question, got to find the answer to it. That's what we do. It's the way the head works. So what could be the possible chapters? And then we just cascade onto the paper or onto the screen whatever our mind says. We don't edit it this is the creation side. We're not going to edit yet. We'll edit later on. Editing is important, but not at this stage. But let's say, for example, I'm answering this question for myself. I'm going to write a book about communication skills. I'm going to ask myself, what could possibly be the chapters? Well, I'm going to have one on body language, my body language. I'm going to have one on audience members' body language. I'm going to have one on openings. How do you open a conversation? I'm going to have one on closings. How do you close a conversation? I'm going to have one on persuading people to my point of view. I'm going to have one on dealing with objections. I'm going to have one on language patterns. I'm going to have one on problems in communication, right? The challenges that people run into. So straight away, all I'm doing, I'm just cascading ideas down onto a bit of paper or onto the screen, as the case may be. Now, the next stage of the process, equally simple, is we take each of the chapters, we give it a working title. We certainly want some interesting titles. I wrote some down this morning. I think I might have them just here in my little drawer here. Oh, yes, here they are. Here are 7 chapter titles. And I've taken these from a book, and they've come from 2 books. How to Win Friends and Influence People, which you've probably heard and read, I hope so, and Strategy in Handling People. So these were the chapter titles. 6 ways to make people like you. Now, is that intriguing? Of course it is. It's got the number in, isn't it? It's intriguing. 6 ways to make it. I could improve it, but it's still good. Do this and you'll be welcome anywhere. What a great chapter title that is. Right and wrong methods of praising people. Another good one. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. I don't like the word conversationalist because it's too Latinate, it's too long. The knack of getting cooperation. There's a good one. 3 successful salesmen and their one secret. Nice title. Things to look for when you judge people, which you probably wouldn't want to do anyway. But there are just some quick ideas for chapter titles. So once we've got the chapter titles, we take each of the chapter titles and we ask ourselves a question. So I'm going to take chapter number 1, which is going to be about my body language. And the question is going to be, what do I possibly want to include in this chapter on my body language? Question mark. What do I possibly want to include in this chapter on blank blank? Question mark. And then we do the same process. We just cascade onto the paper or the screen any ideas that doesn't matter if you've got 10 chapters or 3 chapters. It doesn't make any difference. You could have 13 chapters if you want, and you could have, 3 tips in each chapter. But let's say, for example, we've probably got about 7 chapters. It's a guideline, not a rule. And let's say we've got about 7 ideas that we want to share in each chapter, just for the sake of sharing this thought with you today. So we've got 7 times 7, 49. We've got about 50 ideas that we're going to cover in the book. Now, we're going to write each of the ideas out in the list for the chapter as though it were a tip, just a tip. I've written lots of tips booklets. I've got tips booklets, for example, 117 ways to get almost anyone to do almost anything. That's quite a good title. 117 ways to grab your life by the throat and really make it happen. 117 ways to get your audience to shout more, more, more every time you stand and speak. 117, I've got loads of them, all sorts of things. And most of them say 117, and people say, why? And I say, because people always ask me and I get into conversation about it, which is the real reason. It's just because it's so unusual, like 117. But it just could be 57, it could be any number you like. There are no rules, there are only guidelines. So we turn the ideas for the chapter into a tip. How do we know it's a tip? It starts with a verb. It becomes a tip if it starts with an action word. So if I was writing tips on my body language, I would say, be aware of the use of my hands, would just be a tip. Short, sharp, easy. We'll expand it later. Don't worry about expanding it now. Be aware of the use of my hands. Next one, watch people's eyes to pick up eye-accessing cues. Interesting. Observe, using a different word now, observe the caruncle in the inner canthus. There's an interesting bit of information. If you remind me, Dawn, I'll even come back and explain that in a minute or two. Right? So, and I would list various unusual things that I was going to include in there. But here's a little thought for you. And I've got a slide on this to really help you. I'm going to read it first, and then I'll show it you so you can copy it down. Okay? So let me read this to you. Look, this is it. Not very big. It's all big letters. Okay. This is the inside secret. The ideas, methods, you believe are totally obvious and known to everyone are in fact completely obscure, unnoticed, misunderstood, misperceived, and mysterious to the vast majority of people. And isn't that good news? Right. So let me say it again. The ideas, methods, systems, thoughts, technique, ways and means you believe are totally obvious and known to everybody are in fact completely obscure, unnoticed, misunderstood, misperceived, and mysterious to the vast majority of people. And isn't that good news? You see, this means you can easily double your output of content, help more people get the results they crave, and be rightfully and regularly rewarded for the positive difference you make in the world. There it is. It is. You could probably even take, you're recording anyway, aren't you, John? But you could always take a screen grab if you wanted to. If somebody was doing that, they could always take a screen grab of that. Yeah. I'll hold it still for a moment. There you go. Okay, so now this is fantastic news because it means that we can include in our book the stuff that previously we thought was too obvious to include. The biggest challenge I found from people when they were wanting to write a book was that they didn't know what to leave out, not that they didn't know what to put in. Right? They'd got so many great ideas they wanted to share. The difficulty is keeping it short enough, because if you start doing 200-page books, they're only being used as doorstops. We want to be using 60 to 80-page books so people read them and get the information in their minds and start being able to use it. So we've started with the overall concept. We've got an idea of what it's about, communication skills. We've listed some chapters, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 chapters, right? And we've started to give them intriguing titles. Then we've taken each chapter and we've asked ourselves another question. What could I possibly include in this chapter on whatever the subject is? And we've cascaded some ideas down there. And then we've turned those into tips by writing them as a line or a short paragraph beginning with a verb. Now we've virtually cracked it. Now, this is not easy, by the way. This is not easy because it takes a discipline to do this. It takes a strength of character to say, yes, I'm actually going to do this. Most people don't, by the way, unfortunately, even though it's so simple, just simple, but it's not easy. So the simplicity again, you take each tip that you've written that starts with a verb, and all you then do is you expand it into a paragraph or half a page or 2 pages as appropriate. Don't force it. Don't make it longer than it needs to be, because remember, we're firing our big guns first. We're making this readable. We're making it interesting. We're going to write in the active voice. We're going to talk to one person as though we were talking to somebody face to face, which means that we're going to avoid expressions like some of you and all of you. You wouldn't say all of you to a person you were talking to face. You'd say, because all of you understand, you'd go, all of me? What do you mean all of me? Or some of you? Oh, you mean my left leg? Right? So you wouldn't do that. So don't use audience language, use individual language and speak to that one person. Just as simple as that, speak to just one person. So then we can add things. We can add quotes. We can add diagrams. We can add cartoons. We can add action plans. We can add a link to our website where they can come and get some more information. We can add an upsell. We can add a biography. We can add some different bits and pieces or information. We can quote from other people. Just credit them. Because once you've added all these things which bring the book to life, and make it fascinating for people to read it, you've cracked it. You'll be in 60 to 80 pages. Let me tell you the number of words you need. You're probably going to need somewhere between 10,000 to 12,000 words maximum. Now, could you write 2,000 words a day? Answer, yes, I can. Most people can type at about 50 words a minute. No, never mind typist speed or high numbers, about 50 words a minute. And I'll show you a different way of doing it in a second, by the way. If you can type at 50 words a minute, and you've got to type 100 would be 2 minutes, wouldn't it? And 1,000 would be 20 minutes. So if you could type for, let's say, an hour a day for 5 days, you've cracked it. That's it. You've done it. As simple as that. Now, do most people do that? No. Why not? Because, well, they don't. I don't know why they don't do it, but they don't. It's just the way it is. Yeah. Now, I did mine. Now, the webinar was how to write your business book. And I went through the process I've explained for you in a little bit more detail than we've done fairly quickly today. And I've made sure that the webinar was recorded. I then sent that recording off to have it transcribed, and there's various companies out on the net you can get transcription for about $1 a minute. So that was an 80-minute webinar, so that was $80, big deal, right? And then my PA, Rachel, did some edit on it. Then I did a bit of edit on it. Then we sent it off to somebody to do the layout on the book, cost a couple of $100, and bingo, oh, we had some designs done. I had a woman do some cartoons for me. I'll show you some of these in here. Oh, this is a great cartoon. There's me in the middle. I don't know if you can see that. There's me in the middle, and that's my team. And then there's cartoons throughout the book, you know, various bits and pieces. So I had a few cartoons made. I did a couple of pages of bio and some testimonials and a call to action and a picture on the back and a promo. And it's done. And on the back, we put value, priceless, cost, just a tenner. It actually says just a tenner on it, just to make it a little bit unusual. Now, what an amazing thing to have for your marketing. You can be using this for your marketing. I give this away to people, as a download, and then only charge them a few pounds to pay for the post and packing to have it actually stuck in the post for them as well. So isn't that's such a simple process? Now, here is the important bit. Once you've made the book, what you've got is the script of the products that will subsequently make you a lot of money. Most people don't normally make a lot of money out of books. A few people do, but most people don't make a lot of money out of books. I know some people, friends of mine, were Alan and Barbara Peace. And Alan and Barbara Peace wrote that fantastic book, Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps. And in that series of books, and what a fabulous title that is, by the way, in that series of books, they've sold 35 million books. Now, if they made £1 each, that's 35 million pounds. Maybe they made £2 each and 70 million pounds. But they are the exception. J.K. Rowling, $500 million, the exception. Most people do not make a lot of money out of books. However, those who are clever about it take the information that they've done through their book writing process, and they turn that information to a variety of other products, such as an online video course that will sell at £2,000 rather than a book that sells at 10, or a mentoring program, or a subscription program, or a webinar series, or who knows what. But that's the way that you cascade the information out. Overview, chapters, tips, and expand. That's the simple process of writing a book so quickly, and any piece of informational product that you want to do. So I think I'm just going to have a pause there for a moment, Dawn, swig some tea, and ask if there's any questions at all.
Okay. I think, there's particularly those authors on the call, their mind is probably spinning and thinking, oh my God, I never did that, and I never thought about that, and it's just in time, I'm about to do that. And I think one of the things that I picked up on, which you said, is content is never an issue. People have always got far more content, and we know that from when we're just accrediting people's courses. It's about stripping out, or to use Stephen King's, kill your darlings. I think it was him that said it. You've got to really strip out so much stuff. What people really have a problem with is structure. So your sort of 6-point plan there, the title, what could possibly be in the chapters, create the working titles, etc. That's really helpful in terms of creating that structure to place the content. And I'm kind of shocked about the number of pages to maximize readership, because I don't know, I guess you, as an expert, you kind of expect to want to give them war and peace, but actually
Indeed.
less is more.
Less is more. I mean, if you were aiming at a specific market with a highly specialized topic area, yes, people will read more. So, for example, Cialdini's latest book, Persuasion, is about 250 pages. I've read all of it because I'm fascinated about the subject area, totally and utterly fascinated. So anything he brought out, I would read cover to cover. But that's the unusual one. Normally, those like me and thee and other people on this call, you know, we're not that well known in the marketplace. And therefore, we've got to create a title that's an absolute zinger that people are going to be interested in. And then we've got to fire the big gun first and get them some real good content they can use straight away. Then they'll come back and buy part 2 and part 3 and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, going to the market with a 200-page book, it's not going to happen unless it's absolutely specialized. And that's the rider to that, you know.
I like also what you said about fire your big guns first, because it kind of reminds me about talent shows. People always say when they're disqualified, no, give me another chance, I've got so much more to give. And I'm thinking, why didn't you give your best shot first to get through to the next round? I don't understand that mentality.
Yeah. A client of mine came second in the world at public speaking, big championship in Canada, a worldwide championship. And I listened to his client that I help along, and he did his last 2 speeches for me, and he said to me, which speech shall I use in the semi-final if I get there? Which speech shall I use in the final? And I said to him, do you want to get to the final? He said, yeah. I said, well, in that case, use the best one in the semi-final.
Yeah, of course. But people save their best in the hope of getting to the final. It's the upside down thinking.
And it's the same on websites. People leave the good content till you've scrolled. No, it must be above the fold. It's got to be out there above the fold. You know, at the top of my website, it says, get a free book. Get this book free. Yeah, and we give this book away as a PDF straight away, right at the top of the page. So I think that's really, really important. Now, shall I take a moment now before I go into some more content and mention to people about the Achievers Club and how they can get the book writing software?
Great idea, yes.
Yeah, okay. So one of the programs I have is called the Achievers Club. And this is a combination of 2 main things that can really help you, not just with book writing, but with fees, with all sorts of other ideas that I've been learning over the last 40 odd years, including a load of the interviews that I've done. So there's 2 parts. One is what we call the hub or the portal, where all the content is stored in various decks. So there's selling stuff, there's marketing, there's book writing. And I had a piece of software made how you can write a book online. So you can actually type it straight into the software online, press one button, and it downloads to your desktop, and there's your manuscript, which you can then send off to an editor to put it into the right order, ready for printing or publishing, whichever you want to do. There's interviews with people like Cialdini, Brian Tracy, Bob Proctor, the great and the good, Jay Abraham, all sorts of great people that you can learn from as well. And then there's all sorts of stuff from me and various other people who put things in on everything you would want, personal and business growth. Then on top of that is the great bit. We also every single month have a live webinar with me and occasional guests as well, where I share with you a variety of tried and tested and proven ideas. Now, the feedback from people is that they absolutely love it and they're making great money out of it and making a difference in the world. But I'd like to suggest something really special to you, and I'd like you just to come and try it. So it's this simple. All you have to do is, instead of paying the normal fee, which I'll tell you in a moment, you just pay £5 or $7 for a full 30 days access. Now, no doubt within that 30 days, there will be a live meeting that you can attend. All of the meetings are recorded and transcribed, so you can watch them again, you can read them again. I give you access to all of our resources as well, and all the sources of the people that we use. And when you've written your book, I even promote it to all of my lists and social media. So you can try all of that for £5, and then ongoing, what's the fee? Well, if somebody was to engage me personally, I charge £3,000 a month, and I only take 6 clients ever, and I'm full at the moment. But to get all of the same material that I share with you in this way as a group, joining that group of people who are so positively focused, is only £49 per month ongoing. Do you have to sign up for a particular period? No. You just sign up for as long or as short as you decide. Whilst paying dollars, it's $67. Now, that's the end of that, but I would urge you to try it. I think I've saved in there. That is the link. So I've just put the link in the chat box for you, so you can pop over there when we finish, or even do it now, whichever you want to do. And you either pay £5 or $7, and you get a full 30 days. You can access, you can listen to everything, you can download the templates. If you want to do surveys, I can show you how to do that. If you want to do whatever you want to do for lead generation, it's all in there. And we get some more chaos by joining me live for an hour and a half. If you can't make it, we record it for you. Please come and join us. I think that's about all I can say about it. People think it's fantastic, and so do I. Please come and join me. Right, Dawn, what would you like? I've got loads of stuff I can talk about here. Was there anything particular you would want me to cover based on what else I haven't talked about yet, as you know, what the sort of thing that I do?
I mean, the main question that we have from members is, I have a course, or I have a guide, or I have a program. I want to digitalize it. I want to reach a wider international audience. Obviously, I want to make money from it. But I guess there's resistance, lack of confidence, lack of skill, and also what you said about, well, am I just repeating what's already out there? It's obvious, isn't it? So it's that sabotage that stops them doing it. So any tips that you've got that is going to help people just get out there and put their program out there rather than just talking about doing it?
Most definitely. Okay. Well, the first thing, obviously, is we need an audience. So regardless what the product or service is that we're offering, and let's say we're going to take some knowledge that we've got and we're going to turn it into a digital product, then there's a variety of ways of doing that. So the first thing is we need an audience. So we've got to decide, firstly, whether we're going to be transactional or relational. And we all know what that is, as I talked about earlier today. And if you're talking to a business audience, you're probably going to be talking more to LinkedIn. And if you're talking to a more general audience, probably talking to Facebook, albeit business people are on Facebook as well. So you probably want to be building up your connections both on Facebook and LinkedIn, and you want to be starting to post more and more videos online. I was reading a report the other day from Cisco, and they were saying by 2021, over 80% of internet traffic will be video-based. So we really have to get into video these days. Now, it can be straight through the camera lens in the way that I'm talking to you now. It can be that. Or it can be that effectively what you've done is a presentation and you're hiding yourself behind the presentation, albeit the presentation is on screen and not bits of paper as I'm doing here. Yep. So that's what's necessary to do. We must get into video and we must start to build our audience. Now, building an audience in Facebook is relatively simple. Building an audience in LinkedIn is relatively simple, but it's a case of consistency, of consistently contacting people on a regular basis every day, making a few connections so that over time you build up a following. So to give you an idea, one of my clients wasn't on LinkedIn at all a year ago, and today he's got over 8,000 connections. Now that gives him a database of people to go to. The next thing that we want to do is to design a strategy to bring those people into the top of our marketing funnel. And how can we do that? Well, we'll get to the product in a minute or two, but we've got to have a list of people to talk to. We can do that by going out to the market with quality content, which can be delivered in a variety of ways. We can do free reports, as I mentioned earlier. I've got a report that we've used for years, which is called the 7 mistakes, the 7 shocking mistakes that business owners unwittingly make, costing them a fortune in lost turnover, lost profits, and what's even worse, lost personal cash, and how to avoid them. And that title pulls hundreds and thousands of leads because it's an absolute cracking title focused at one particular sector. So the title of your report, your free report or your checklist, whatever it might be, has got to clearly indicate who you're looking for and the problem that they have. Remember, At that end of the market, we're looking at the problems that we can solve for people, not the solutions we're going to provide. We want that away motivated message. So we're asking people for their email details in exchange for great quality content. These days, you can do that with video as well. I do a video every single week. And as I mentioned to you, I've been doing it for nearly 16 years now. It's a 2, 3, 5, 7-minute video. You know, it's just me talking to camera like this, nice and simple. And over time, you become more and more confident and more comfortable doing it. And that's just part of the journey, isn't it? Is sharing ideas out there in the marketplace. And then we can invite people to the next stage in the process. Let me give you an idea. I've actually fortunately got this on my desk, even though I wasn't going to use it. It's a little map that I draw, and I have various versions of these types of things. And this is just a customer journey map. And all I'm looking at here is where do people start to interact with me, and what's the first thing I'm going to bring them into. So this one says into a free book download, and from there into a webinar, and from there into an offer. That could be into a survey. Surveys are a really powerful way of getting people to interact with you. In the Achievers Club, there's a map in there for exactly how to do a survey. I could actually show it if you want me to. This will give you a good. Shall I just show you that? I'll just share my screen with you.
So what you're also saying, consistency is key, isn't it?
Absolutely, consistency is the key. Let me just share my screen, Dawn, then you can be able to see this. Right, so there's a map. Can you see this one?
Yes.
So that's a map that I've created that shows people exactly how to run a survey, exactly what to do, step by step. You just follow the map. And to go with it, so here's a report that I created, including that map, of exactly what you need to do, and the survey questions, and exactly how to run the survey. As you can see, I'm scrolling through it, right? How to create it, including the necessary actions that you need to take to run one. And all of that is inside the Achievers Club. Those are the sort of some of the templates that I put in there so that people know exactly what to do. So any process that I talk to somebody about, I create a template for it to make it easy for them. So we start to build a following. We start to build a system of people that we can then talk to. And then we start to invite them to things like a webinar. Because once we invite them to a webinar, we can then ask them if they'd like to try the online product. So how do we digitize it? How do we actually make the product? Again, it's like most things to do with this industry. They are simple, not easy. I would suggest for anybody these days that you want to convert your information into a video-based online product. Video-based. It needn't be you into camera. It can be you talking to slides, or you can appear in the corner of the slide. So it's, you know, sort of picture in picture. And the idea is to do exactly what we did with the book. Decide on the chapters, in other words, the areas of the program. Decide on the content for each of the chapters. Decide on the detail of the content, and then create a series, 5-minute, 10-minute, maximum 20-minute videos for each of those particular areas. That's how you will put that program online. And then the way that I do it is I like to let people try something before they buy something, because I want someone to be totally convinced by their own words, not by my words, that it is what they are looking for. That's why I do this trial at £5 and $7 to say, look, I'm not going to try and convince you this is good. I know darn well it's good because of... That makes sense. That's the basic process. I know it's a skip over the waves slightly because it is a big subject, but it is a case of saying, I'm going to put this online, and the best way to put it online is either as an online product that people buy, and they can either buy it outright or they could buy it over a period of time, or you put it online as, for example, a webinar series where people consume the information over a period of months and years. Whichever you're more comfortable in the way of delivering. Are you happy delivering to the camera live, or would you prefer to do it, record it, and edit it? If you prefer it live, then do webinars. If you prefer to edit it, then do it and create a video program that can be supplied online. And there's a variety of platforms that you can use for that. hopefully that gave you some of the answers. I know it's not all of the answers because it was a brief explanation, but is there anything else I can add to that for you?
I mean, so what you're saying is video is king. It trumps everything.
Everything. Number one. Number one. And so what I found is when I first was doing this industry, I remember the first time somebody, my very first book, which was called Sell Your Way to the Top, somebody asked me to sign a copy. They bought a copy at the back of the room of a thing I was doing. And my hand was shaking, Dawn, as I signed it. I was so nervous. I couldn't believe it. I was only signing, I was writing every success, Peter. And I've never been in the situation before. And I was like, come on, Peter, what's this? I don't believe these nerves. And that's the same as videoing. The first videos I made were absolutely atrocious. You know, and you make mistakes and all the rest of it. But over time, you just get better, you get more confident, and you get to care a little less. That doesn't mean you're careless, but you don't mind anymore, and you're quite comfortable making mistakes. In the same way, I'm saying to you, hang on a second, Dawn, I'm going to have a swig of my tea.
So you don't think it matters if we fluff our words up or we get something wrong? Because obviously everybody wants to be perfect, and nobody is. No,
don't be perfect. Don't be perfect. Be passionate. just be you. That. Yeah, don't be. If it's a subject that you're passionate about, if it's something that energizes you, if it's a subject where you have those three things that are so important: belief, confidence, and alignment. If you've got those in play, then just be you. We know who you are, who they are, who you are to them, who they are to you. Questions we've been through today. I'll give you 4 more as we go towards the end as well to answer as well, which are really important to answer. Just be you. Look through that lens and talk to that one person that's your ideal avatar and explain what you have to say. And if you stumble a bit, say it again and edit it out, or don't even bother. You know, this is it. I wouldn't have dreamt of taking a swig of my tea in the first videos I did. I can't possibly do that.
Yeah, you can't be human.
I can't be human. I mean, for today, I'd got some white paper and a black and red pen, just in case there was something I hadn't done a slide for, and I was just going to draw it out and hold it up. Yeah. It's just a level of confidence. The missing ingredient for so many people when they want to be involved in this is confidence.
Yeah,
that's what we need. We need to live in a little village just south of arrogant. It doesn't mean that we're arrogant at all or cocky. It means we are very confident about what it is that we have to share with people because we know it changes their lives. Yeah. I know the people whose lives I've changed, I'm not being immodest here because they tell me by them using the ideas I've shared with them. Does everybody know? And do most people know? It's the way of the world, isn't it? We both know this. It's just the way it is. But we've just got to be confident about it and share what we know and be enthusiastic and passionate about what we do.
Well, we've got some very confident and passionate and enthusiastic people on the call, and I know some of them are already authors. So let's open up and see who is passionate enough, brave enough to ask some questions. So far away. You've got the undivided attention of arguably the UK's most prolific and maybe the world's most prolific content creator. So let's pick his brains while we've got his undivided attention.
Not even arguably. If there's no questions, I've no problem. I've got some other stuff I can share with you. But
okay. Yeah. Well, how do you start creating a database list when you've just left the corporate world and you've gone freelance? You can't spend all your time giving free content. You actually want to get some paid clients. And is a small, accurate database better than a large generalist one?
Yep, it absolutely is. If you've got 1,000 people who are well connected with you, you could make a fortune. You know, there's plenty in 1,000. Most coaches and consultants that I know of and have dealt with for the last 30 years, if they have 5 regular, well-paid clients, they are making the amount of money they probably want, provided they've learned to charge the right level of fees. They're certainly making over 100,000 a year if they're doing that. And that's the way to do that, is to have very, very focused on the people that you want to deal with. Now, can you build a big list? Absolutely, you can build a big list. There was a client of mine, you might even know her name. She was in one of my mentoring groups, Carrie Green. And she built a list of 300,000 followers on Facebook and 100,000 people in her email list. And she did that by spending 3 years connecting with people and giving out good content. It's a never-ending thing, Dawn. It's not a thing that we can do occasionally. It's marketing is a daily occurrence. It absolutely is every single day. In my business on LinkedIn, we are connecting with 50 to 75 people 5 days a week, every week, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. And why? Because we're just building and building and building and building. I think at the moment I've got about 26,500 connections. Rachel's probably got 15,000 connections. Other people in the business got other ones, but we've just got to keep connecting, keep putting good stuff out there, because there's only two ways to build the list: spend money or spend time, or spend both. That's the third way, right? You're either going to spend money and get someone else to do it for you, or you're going to spend time. But there is no substitute. There's no magic to this. You can go and buy a list, by the way. You could go and buy 15,000 names for probably £3,000. You could then spend 3 months washing that list, in the sense of sending stuff out, and slowly people unsubscribe. And then you might be left with a core of 200 or 300 really connected people, and probably 10,000 connected. And over time, you will turn that into a lot of money. You could probably wash its face inside 6 months. You'd probably get your money back inside 6 months, maybe a bit sooner, to what you sell. You can go buy all sorts of lists. It's all of these things are possible, but it's the absolute focus. It's back to the Russian proverb, isn't it? The eagle that chases two rabbits catches neither. You've absolutely got to pick the one thing and say, right, I'm going to specialize on LinkedIn. And I'm going to be there on LinkedIn. I'm going to be connecting every day. I'm going to be posting content every other day. Perhaps once a week, I might ask people to download something. But most of the time, I'm going out giving away good quality stuff. Because
which is the best platform in terms of attracting real customers? Because my perception is some of them, the audiences like to be spoon-fed everything for free. So which platform would you say has the best conversion rate for clients who are prepared to buy?
consultant, speaker, or trainer, but they are definitely going to be on LinkedIn. They're on Facebook as well. We still get a lot of good traffic out of Facebook, but LinkedIn for me has been the one if you're looking for corporate type clients, or you're looking for coaching clients, or executive coaching clients, or entrepreneurial coaching clients, or SME clients. They will still be on Facebook, but I found that LinkedIn, the numbers are lower, but the conversions and quality is higher.
Okay, thank you.
That's what we've found. We've had people sort of almost cold. They might have heard of me, but the reason they've heard of me is because I've been putting information out there for so many years. And so that's what's necessary, is getting out there. I mean, I did a video just the other day, and I was holding a bottle of shampoo, soap it was, and I told the story about how I'd bought it. And it was a marketing story. It was giving people a good idea on marketing, about demonstration. And Rachel posted, this was only yesterday she posted it. She posted it on LinkedIn late afternoon yesterday. And by first thing this morning, 2,735 people had watched it. Now, that only happens if you're putting the content out. If you're not putting the content out, nobody's watching it. And people on LinkedIn are watching videos. Now, they need to be short and sharp and have good content.
Yeah, I mean, there is this whole worry, I think, for a lot of people that they're busy writing blogs, they're creating videos, but nobody's seeing them. How do they make sure that they get this following? And I suppose from what you're saying is it's that consistency. It's producing something every single day so people start to look out for it.
Yeah, let me give you a little technique on this. If you put the videos up, you must have captions on them.
Right.
Because more than 50% of videos are watched with the sound off.
Right.
Strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you must have the captions on what's called the SRT file. I think it's the sub-rip text. It stands for. So you absolutely need the captions on it. and then when you've posted it into LinkedIn, you must have those captions running so people can read, because very often people are checking things on the phone or on the train. They're somewhere where they haven't got the earphones in, maybe they're at work and they don't have a sound card in their computer if it's a corporate client. You know, a lot of people don't have the sound cards in their computers because of the potential disturbance on that. So, but nevertheless, people are watching video with the sound turned off. They might be multitasking. They might be sitting watching TV, but they've got their phone as well, and they're reading that and sort of listening to something else at the same time. But there's a lot of stats out there about that. So I would urge everybody on this call to get into video. I think it can be really helpful. Let me give you a little process here for writing a really powerful video, and you could use this for writing a report. A little 6-stage process that anybody can take away today. And they can use this to create a film or to create a report. Now, if you were going to do a 7 big mistakes report, like I mentioned earlier, you could use this for the whole report, or you could use it for each of the mistakes. So here it is, right? So there's 6 words, okay? And I'll give you the words first, then I'll talk through it, okay? So the first word is perspective. The second word is problem. The third word is pain. The fourth words are so it's perspective, problem, pain, possible solution, pleasure, plan of action. So this is a little process to write the script for a video or to write a report. And the great thing about this is it starts away motivated. So if you're going to film a video, let's say you're going to film a video about, let's say, time management. You're going to post a nice little video about time management. And I'll do it live now for you, yeah? So I'm going to run that process in my head, and I'm just going to look in the camera and talk, yeah? Hello there, my name is Peter Thomson. I'm delighted to welcome you to this quick video all about the so-called time management. Now, as you and I know, there is no such thing as time management. There are 24 hours each and every day, 168 hours each and every week that you and I have to achieve everything that we want in our lives, commercially, socially, and personally. Come with me now on a very brief journey on this video where I'm going to share with you one of the key problems that's stopping people squeezing more out of every single day of their lives. Here it is. It's email. Email is the biggest problem, and the research shows that 13% of most people's day is spent on unnecessary email. Now, what does this mean, 13%? Well, it's about an hour every day, 5 hours every week, 20 hours every month. That's 2 working days in full, probably even more. That's 24 days a year. That's a whole month every year spent on unnecessary email. Now, is there a solution? Well, of course there is. What we need to do is to switch the darn thing off. In other words, we've got to set it up so we check it first thing in the morning, just before lunch and just before the end of the day. But what's the upside of doing that? Well, just think if your time is worth £100 an hour, and if it's not, maybe we should be doing something different. But that would be 2 hours every day. Sorry, 5 hours every week. That's £500 of every week. That's 25,000 a year as an upside in usable time. So what do we need to do with this? Quite simply, look in your email system, decide how you can set it up so it's not notifying you all of the time, because that will distract you, and so that you set an alarm to check it first thing in the morning, just before lunch, and just before the end of the day. And that way you can take the demon email and you can smack it in the face and take total control. My name is Peter Thomson. If I can help you in any other way, there's a link on this site. I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye for
now. You're a natural, Peter.
Well, remember, I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't able to do that 30 years down the line, then something would be wrong, right? But you know what I'm saying? So I'm very practiced that this is what I do. This is how I live my life, making video, you know? So I'm not trying to be falsely immodest here in any way. I'm, you know, not an immodest sort of person. I'm delighted I can do these things. But what I have there, Dawn, the reason I can do that is, A, I know my material. So I'm saying you've got to be passionate about your material. But the big thing I have, I'm confident enough to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm. And tell us about the equipment you need.
Oh, right. Easy peasy. I will show you. Very, very, very simple. Right. I've actually got a little slide I could share with you. Would you like me to do that?
Yes, please.
Recent video creation ideas. Right. Let me just move that. I'll close that. I'll go backwards here. Let me close that bit. I'll just share my screen with you. Just a
And which is the
second.
most popular content? Because there used to be the little cartoons scribbling the words or the pictures or talking into camera. Which is the most effective?
You can get all of these things. I've found the most effective over many, many years is straight into camera.
Right. Okay.
Because we have a natural response to the human face.
Yeah.
So a smiling face, you know, when we see a baby's round face and they're smiling, got pink cheeks, you know, they're probably wearing a pink shirt if they're a girl as well. So if there's a smiling face, that engages people. I've found holding props really engages people. So if I did that, that was the skill, then that would probably get more people to click the video to start with. So I've used read and speak, where the letters come up and you read them. I've used the hand-drawn cartoon. You can buy software for that, by the way. It's ever so easy and inexpensive as well. Very simple to make actually these days. It used to be very expensive. So let me just share this with you, and I'll show you. Where's the share the screen button? Oh, that's in the way. Excuse me a second. Oh, there we are. Share screen, and then I can give you the details of the equipment you need. Right. So if we go here. This is a green screen, right? Now you can buy an easy, you don't need to buy one that expensively. This is a collapsible green screen, but what you can buy is a green screen kit. Look at the price of this. There's a green screen kit for £62.99. You've got the green screen, you've got lights, you've got stands, you've got almost everything for 63 quid. I mean, that's just amazing, isn't it? So this one here is a collapsible one. I use a couple of these in my office. Let me show you. There's two screens here behind me and they're green, and I'll show you that because I'll put my hand behind one. You'll see my arm disappear.
Okay.
You see my arm disappear?
Yes.
Just that. See if I get my head to disappear. Right?
So they're called green, but they're obviously not green because it looks like we're looking out a window.
Yeah, no, but that's the background I've put in.
Oh, I see.
So I can change the background on what it is that we're looking at, right? So, for example, on here with the preferences, so we're getting to some technical stuff now, but I could actually change my background. So, for example, I could be here or here. I could be in my other office, which is this one or this one. Or this one I often use. Okay. So the different ones. So just minimize that for a second. So there's a green screen. Now you need some light. I have two lights on at the moment, and they're both here. Yeah, you can see the shadow here on me. Okay. Those lights are £20 each.
Okay.
So it's not expensive stuff. There's the green screen kit. This is the camera I use. It's a Logitech C930E. Right, £75.93 from Amazon. When I bought mine a couple of years ago, it was about £125, so it's come down in price. Yeah. So nice and easy. And the microphone I'm speaking to you on today is this one. So this is this Blue Snowball, it's called, and as you can see there, it's £58. So you can set everything up: camera, lights, microphone, green screen, for a couple of £100.
Which is amazing, considering if you're going to hire a video technician, you're probably paying £500 an hour for them to record you. And then you don't have that luxury of retakes because you're trying to be perfect and maximize your money. And then you've got to go somewhere to do it anyway.
Do it. I'm sat in what would probably be the dining room in my home. So not a massively big room, it's big enough. And this is my office. I have a table because I prefer a table to a desk. I have a table, a few chairs, got the sideboard and bits and pieces. I have my camera, my lights. I've got a clock just above me, above the camera, big round clock. So I can see what the time is without having to. I don't wear a watch anyway, but to pick up my phone or anything, I can see the time, and it's inexpensive. It's inexpensive. And the big thing you add that you can't buy anywhere is confidence.
And that
So you've
comes
got to
from
plan,
practice.
and that comes from practice. And it comes from, this is the line, I said it once today, it's the confidence to get it wrong.
Mm. And show
And
you're human, which people don't like being vulnerable.
no, well, that's right. But people like that vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's what they like. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the way that it is.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, again, I've said it a few times for you. It's very simple. I wanted to share these 4 other questions with you because they're so powerful for everybody who's on the call today. There's Olivia, Teresa, Monique, Margaret, Bettina as well. Then these are 4 questions to really consider when you're doing your marketing, and you can create another video on this. So I've given you one little formula for a video. Here's another one. There, if you will answer these 4 questions on your video, you will engage people. Why me? Why you? Why this? Why now? Isn't that nice and simple? Why me? In other words, for the person who's watching your video, why they think it's them that you're talking to. So in other words, they're saying to you, why are you talking to me? So you've got to answer that thought in their mind, right? So if I was doing that, I might be saying, if you're a coach, consultant, speaker, or trainer, and you've been struggling over the years to get the most clients that you want, lead generation is a challenge, and you're not making the amount of money that you want, and you know that you've got something special to offer, then I think I might have something for you. My name's, see, I was doing there. I'm explaining why. Yeah, I'm answering your question, why me? Then the next one is why you? In other words, I've then got to say why it's me you should be talking to, we're listening to. So then I say, my name's Peter Thomson. I'm the UK's most prolific information product creator. And over the last 30 years, as I've been helping code, I've managed to crack the code, you know, and all the rest of it. So I'm talking about me there briefly. Then why it's this that I'm talking about. Why would it be this product, service, webinar, seminar, whatever it is that I'm talking about? Why is it this? So I would talk about the product or service. And then I've got to answer the question, in order to get action, I have to say why now? Yeah. So why should it be now? So today I've talked about the Achievers Club, and I've said, come and try it for $5 or $7. You can have a whole 30 days. Well, why should you do it now? Well, if you're keen on being even more successful and you want to learn these tried and tested strategies, then at the moment I'm opening just 50 places in the Achievers Club, and I'd love you to be in there and come and try it for yourself before those 50 places have gone. And that is what I'm doing at the moment. So you see, even through today, Dawn, I've answered why you, why me, why this, why now. That's okay. So that's another simple way of making a video. And this is what I do, is I take what I think is sometimes complex and do my utmost just to make it simple into nice little questions, so somebody can go, Peter, I get it. I understand. It makes sense.
And that's exactly how you digitalize whatever you've got, whether it's a book, a course, whatever. Break it down into bite-sized chunks, and that's where I think I've gone wrong in the past when I've interviewed, because I love interviewing people. So I'll add you to my list, Peter. But I've always gone for, you know, the whole shebang. In fact, it would have been better to do a series of small ones that would really keep people engaged and coming back for more.
The interviews I did, I've done 172. Most of them are 20 minutes.
Yes. Yeah.
Short. Boom, 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 boom. Occasionally they're 40 minutes, and I just split them into 2.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're only ever 20 minutes, because then if people know there's 20 minutes, they get straight to the stuff.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So by definition, once you start to digitalize your products, then you're reaching a wider audience, because it doesn't matter what time of day or night it is or anywhere in the world, people can click buy and bundle up certain offers, and you're making money even while you're sleeping based on one product, which is your book, which is based on your expertise.
Yeah. And what I would urge people as a final point from me, Dawn, would be this, is to, once you've got your book and you've started to capture your information and you do more and more of it, what you really want in your business is a subscription product. There is nothing like opening the door on the first Monday of the month and having a torrent of cash come in, metaphorically, and you know that you're sound financially because you're being paid on subscription. All of the stuff that I do, the original Achiever's Edge was subscription program. The Achievers Hub is subscription. The Achievers Club is subscription. I have another thing called the 100 Plus Club, where I meet with people 2 days every other month, and I'm doing that next week. And then there's my private clients, and all of those things are subscription based. They're all paid at the start of the month. Now you have no back end of, it's as simple as that, and you know the money is coming in. So I would urge anybody to have a subscription product, and if you're interested in having a subscription product, then within the Achievers Club, I did a special webinar exactly how to set up and run a subscription product, including all the templates. That's in there as well. So I would urge anybody to go and check out that link. So there's a thing from Pauline: is it better to co-author a book or have your own? There's a question I'd need to ask you first on that, Pauline, which is this: why do you want it? So I think once you've answered the why question, if you were going to use a co-authored book for fame, then all you do is change the outer cover, so it all effectively becomes yours. If you're using it for money making, well, if you've got other authors, you might have to split the money. So again, it depends on the why that's driving it. You know, there's a number of reasons for having a book. The number one reason to have a book, by the way, is a business card. It's the best business card you've ever had. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions, as we are bang on time, but I don't want to cut you off if anybody has a burning question for Peter before we finish today. Obviously, if you've got any questions when you join the Achievers Club, you're going to have access to
Yes.
Rachel, and therefore access to Peter anyway, to help you find everything that you need.
We have an email help.
Yes, so we'll wrap up. Thank you very much for your questions and your participation and staying to the end of a 90-minute call. We don't normally have such long ones, but this is really important, and it's a fabulous way to kickstart 2019. So thank you very much, Peter. Always very, very generous with your time and your content. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we look forward to working with you again in the future. And here's to a fabulous year for all of us.
Thank you so much, Dawn. My real pleasure to help out on this, and I hope everybody. Dawn, you've just frozen on me. Oh, you're back again now.
Yes,
all right,
I'm back. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for the nice comments. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to leave. Thank you. Have a great year. Bye-bye.
Bye.